So in this video, we're going to look at ratio word problems. This happens to be the homework that I gave you on Friday, but this could be a practice for any kind of ratio word problems. The idea with the ratio word problems is to get them to look like a straight one ratio equals another ratio with a missing part, with an X in it. You feel really comfortable about those. Sometimes the word problems throw you off because of all the words, so the idea is get it to the point where you don't have to worry about all the words. So let's take a look at this first problem. We're told that Mate has 36 cups of vegetable rice soup that she made for her cooking class. Her recipe is to mix 30 cups of vegetables with 6 cups of rice to make the soup. What you're going to find is that every problem that we're looking at is a recipe problem of sorts. Sometimes it's a recipe with food, sometimes it's a recipe with ribbon. They're all some sort of a recipe problem. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the parts and the total. So we know that she uses 30 cups of vegetables and she adds 6 cups of rice, and that's what she uses to make 36 cups of soup. We're going to convert those into some ratios. So our first ratio is going to be the amount of vegetables compared to the total. And we know that that is 30 to 36. Our second ratio is going to be the amount of rice to the total. And we know that that is 6 to 36. Now, one way to tell that we've put the correct numbers in here is to go and look if we take 30 to 36 and we add 6 to 36, we get 36 to 36. That's one whole. We always want to have a whole amount. Now, the next thing I'm going to suggest isn't something you have to do. I personally find it a lot easier if I simplify these ratios. If I say, well, 30 to 36, 6 goes into both of those. It goes into 35 times. It goes into 36 6 times. So the ratio of 30 to 36 is the same as the ratio of 5 to 6. But 5 to 6 is going to be easier to work with. Same thing down here. The ratio of 6 to 36 is the same as the ratio 1 to 6. And again, we can check that if we add those ratios together, 5 to 6 and 1 to 6, we get 6 to 6. I don't know if you can hear the background noise. I'm taping this during class and the 6th graders are going back from lunch. They are a loud group. All right, so now let's take a look at question A. Mate plans to make vegetable rice soup for her square dancing friends with the same recipe. If she needs 54 cups of soup for the dancers, how many cups of vegetables will she need? So they're asking about the vegetables. So they're asking about the vegetables compared to the total. So that's the ratio that we're working on. Using the simplified version, we have a ratio of 5 to 6 vegetables to total, and that's going to equal some unknown amount of vegetables to our new total, which is 54. Now, once again, if I look back over here, I could have used this 30 over 36 instead of the 5 over 6. It would have just made my math more complicated. So we have a couple of ways we can solve this. The first way I'll show you is the method where we cross multiply, where we multiply like that. You might have heard somebody call it butterflies because it looks somewhat like a butterfly. We have 5 times 54 is equal to 6 times x. 6 times x is 6x. 5 times 54, I might need to take that over here. 54 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20, carry a 2. 5 times 5 is 25, and 2 makes 27. So I've got 270. Then I divide by 6, since that's the coefficient of x. I can see that big 1 right here. And so 6x divided by 6 leaves me x. 270 divided by 6. 6 goes into 27 4 times. That's going to be 24. That leaves a 3, bring a 0. 6 goes into 35 times exactly. I'm going to need to move that down a little bit because I'm going to have some more work going on up there. So let me just move my scratch work out of the way. And so I got 45. So we're going to need 45 cups of vegetables. Now, there's another way to solve it. So we know 45 is the answer that we should be getting. There's another way to solve this. And the other way to solve it is to say, all right, go back to that ratio we had, 5 to 6 equals x to 54, and ask yourself, is there a big 1 that you could use? Is there a number that you could multiply by 6 to get 54? And there is. That number's 9. So if we use a big 1, 9 over 9, we're going to create equivalent ratios. 9 times 5 equals 45. Notice we get the same 45 either way, and that has to happen. If you try a different way and you get a different answer, something's wrong. All right, so now we've got 45 cups of vegetables. The second question is, how many cups of rice will Matai need for the soup she's making for the squared answers? And to get the cups of rice, we simply need to say, well, we had 54 cups altogether, 54 cups of soup. Take away the 45 cups of vegetables, and we end up with 9 cups of rice. So these are our final answers. For A, our final answer was 45 cups. For B, it was 9 cups. Now, in case you want to check that, you can check that 9 cups by taking those ratios. A 1 to 6 equals x to 54. Looking for a big 1, and it's still going to be 9 over 9. Notice we had a 6 and a 54. We have a 6 and a 54. That's not going to change. And 9 times 1 equals 9. There's our 9 cups. Okay, so that's the first problem. It may not have taken you that long to solve because you didn't have to talk your way through it. What I'd suggest you do now is look at the next problem, Marilyn and the sign. Remember, every one of these represents a recipe problem. Whether the recipe has vegetables and rice, or the recipe has blue and white paint, or the recipe has green and red ribbon, they all represent a kind of recipe to make some total.